Hey guys, I'm Urizi. This story is all about what if Naruto found out about the Uzumaki clan and was a prodigy. A small twist of fate made him aware of his heritage, unsealing the legacies his parents left behind. Graduating from the academy at age 7, he's well on his way. He found a kindred spirit in Uchiha Itachi, and his cousin Shisui is along for the ride. They're on the path to unsealing the legacy left by their ancestors, both the dark and the light. Before we proceed with the story, please like and subscribe to this channel if you liked the video, and don't forget to check the description for the other works of the author if you liked the story. Let's start. Chapter 17, 17th Legacy. Interlude, Oblivious Monkey and Envious Hawk. Hakure had once written a chronicle of the founding era of shinobi villages. Once upon a time, a pair of shinobi twins followed their parents as aides for a beautiful red-haired princess of the Uzumaki to a new village. She was beautiful, intelligent, and was the perfect match for Senju Hashirama, the charismatic clan head of the Senju. However, his story was not about neither the Uzumaki princess nor the Shodai Hokage, but what followed years later. Hakure and his twin, Sangetsu, were introduced to the two teams the Daime had formed to be his future subordinates. Back then, he and his twin were determined to serve Konoha to end the Warring States era, as an extension of Uzushiagakuer for Konoha. So it was no wonder that, wherever the Daime's subordinates went, they were not far away acting as support. There were two boys that especially held their attention because, according to Mito-sama, her brother-in-law saw in them the potential to be the next Hokage. The first was the Sarutobi boy, who at first seemed to be the Daime's model student, was a bit bratty, but he had a good heart and his will of fire burned strong. The other boy was much simpler in their opinion. He was a hot-headed and eager ninja with a strong desire to prove himself. Their names were Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzu, respectively, and the twins were becoming fast friends with them. They wondered who Daime was going to choose in the end. Then they started to see the seed of a problem in the second boy. He had a severe inferiority complex regarding the first. While having a rival and desiring to surpass said rival was good and encouraged, it didn't seem to be acting as positive reinforcement for this boy. Thus, Sangetsu approached Danzo and warned the Shimura about his obsession with defeating Hiruzen, as it would just hinder his progress if he were not careful. His advice went unheeded. Hakure approached the other, and asked Hiruzen what thought of Danzo. It was revealed that the Sarutobi had no idea that Danzo held such negative feelings towards him. He was confident in their steadfast friendship and Danzo's reliability. Seeing nothing to be done, the twins simply hoped that Danzo's obsession and Sarutobi's obliviousness wouldn't be their downfall. Tobirama-sama had such high hopes for them. They admired Tobirama-sama and respected him like Mito-sama, but they wished he picked a better time to pass on his hat. Once the grief over losing their leader passed, the twins felt an ominous premonition about Hiruzen and Danzo's future. The circumstances of the Daime's decision was the last straw and pushed Danzo's unhealthy inferiority complex past the point of no return. Hiruzen, trusting and kind, had no idea. He even chose Danzo to be one of his advisors. At first, they hoped the position would placate Danzo somehow, perhaps he would forget this souring rivalry. No such luck, it only went downhill from there. Time passed and they became older and supposedly wiser. Most people seemed to think Danzo had matured, for he had abandoned his spirited countenance in favor of a cold, collected facade of calmness. He did not allow his emotions to surface, adopting a stoicism even better than the average Uchiha. Kagami had agreed and laughed when he was told his teammate was becoming so good at imitating his clansmen, although Hakure and Sangetsu didn't see anything funny about it. Rather than maturing, all they were seeing was how jealousy had twisted the driven and brave boy Danzo used to be. It didn't take long for Kagami to realize, and he too was getting worried for his teammate. Hiruzen never saw it coming. He thought Danzo was sacrificing himself by forming root to handle the missions of darker nature. He was confident in their friendship and could not believe that Danzo would stray. Or rather, he didn't want to believe that. Danzo had definitely grown up. He'd grown taller and older, but he was not getting wiser. Apparently wisdom was optional when you grew old, unlike what most elders believed. Danzo, you, alone, are not Konoha. He was so blinded by his own ideals, he couldn't even comprehend such a simple warning from Hakure's young master. Danzo might place the interests of the village above all else, even ethics and morals. Konoha was everything to him, but at the same time Danzo had come to hate the previous Hokage's beliefs. In his mind, they made Konoha weak. Even now, Hakure still couldn't comprehend how Danzo managed to forget that their beliefs were the foundation of Konoha. What was this village without it? He couldn't even understand that one simple truth, and the Konoha he saw was no longer a village shaped by the will of fire and its people, but his ideals. And just like that, Danzo, who believed he was Konoha's most loyal shinobi, had unknowingly made himself her greatest traitor. He dared to think of himself as Konoha, and threw away the Konoha he and Hiruzen swore to protect. The irony amused neither Hakure nor his young master. It was, after all, an utter pity. Danzo had thrown himself into the abyss and fell so deep, and he could no longer see the Konoha that was once a light in his heart. He was such a pitiful man. 17th Legacy, Unexpected Windfall. Iruka cleared his throat loudly, not because his throat itched or anything, but because the gesture never failed to get his students to stop whatever they were doing and pay attention to him. Then again, maybe it was because he always cleared his throat before yelling. But never mind. Chuji, at last, stopped munching on his chips, and Kiba paused his conversation with his dog. Ahem. Today, as I announced yesterday, we have 2 shinobi from the Sealing Division. He gestured towards the 2 young standing beside him. They were pretty young, he couldn't help but note, probably a few years younger than him, so around 15 to 16, perhaps. Thank you for coming, Damn, how could he forget to ask their name before calling them in? The kunoichi just gave him a small smile, elbowing the snickering shinobi beside her. I am Shiamitsu Yuzuriha from Sealing Division, Chunin, 6th Dan Seal Master. And I am Shiamitsu Takuza, same division. Chunin, 4th Dan Seal Master, the boy added. The teacher quickly regained his momentum. Ah yes, thank you for coming, Yuzuriha-san, Takuza-san. Then he turned his attention back to his students. They are here to introduce Fuinjutsu to you all, just like the Medicnin division before them. They are also here to look for potential recruits for their DV-. He had not finished speaking, but one of his model students had raised her hand so quickly, he was afraid she would pull a muscle. Yes, Sakura-chan. I want to join Sealing Division, she announced. Sign me in, please, sensei. Sakura was usually a very shy girl, and yet here she was, volunteering herself. Yuzuriha-san waved at her. Ah. Hello, Sakura-chan. Was that hero worship he saw in her eyes? Yuzuriha-san. You remember me, she chirped. We would love to have you with us. Yuzuriha gave the girl a bright smile. Nanny. Iruka resisted his urge to protest. Is it alright to decide so quickly? Shouldn't they discuss it with their superiors first? Yuzuriha just smiled and, with amazing dexterity, threw a small handbook towards Sakura, the book landing with a spin on her desk. Of course. We've been given full authority to accept recruits right away if we see any potential in them. Iruka frowned, but his students had not shown anything to them, so what potential had she seen in Sakura? Takuza answered his unspoken query. We scheduled our visit today because it's right after your calligraphy week, so we can assess their work. I see. Iruka was surprised they put that much thought in this. Well, congrats to Sakura-chan then. The pink-haired girl beamed and hugged the book happily. We were off with a great start, Iruka thought. Why are you so happy to join the Sealing Division? Kiba wondered out loud. They're a bunch of nerds. Silence. But Sakura is a nerd, anyway. Other children started to pipe in. Really? Yeah, you have to be very smart to be one of them and read a bunch of scrolls. Yikes. I don't want to read boring stuff after the academy. Sakura glared at the boy. Kiba, you baka. Hey. Iruka shouted, all of you settle down. Kiba. Watch your mouth or I will. Takuza interrupted. Ah, an Inyazuka, The Inyazuka could almost smell the smugness all the way from the front of the class. What? The Shiamitsu cleared his throat. Well, great timing. While most civilian-born here would hardly know about the Sealing Division and Fuinjutsu, we're sure shinobi clan children would have heard of us, at least. Of course, even then, most clans' knowledge of Fuinjutsu is minimal, so it's no wonder you're ignorant of its power. Kiba growled, I am not an idiot. Ignorant means lacking in knowledge or information as to a particular subject or fact, Sakura, who sat behind him, corrected. Not idiot. Ino, who sat beside her, sighed. Kiba, shut up, already. Iruka-sensei looks really mad and you're embarrassing us in front of these shinobi. Iruka was very close to marching to where Kiba was sitting, but Yuzuriha stopped him. It's fine, Umino-san, they're kids. She turned her attention towards the students. You are not completely wrong to say that, to be a seal master, you have to read a lot, which is why our field is not popular among the shinobi population. Takuza nodded sagely, hi, it's almost sad, but it's why our mission to come here is very important to Konoha. At the words mission and important, all students of his perked up instantly, even those that appeared bored, like Shikamaru and Sasuke. Iruka now understood what these two were doing. They were trying to get his students' sense of adventure peaked first. No kid learning to be a ninja could resist the temptation of adventure, and the words mission and important were drawing their attention like bees to honey. Now, kids, do you know what Konoha Gaku's first line of defense is? Takuza asked, grinning widely. It was Kiba who answered. Shinobi, of course. Yuzuriha and Takuza's sweat dropped. Was it just this Inuzuka, or were all kids this age simple-minded in general? Not the exact answer we're looking for, Inuzuka-kun. You're not wrong, but that's too general an answer. The Inuzuka blinked in confusion, and the puppy on his head whimpered. Then it's us, the Inuzuka. He boasted proudly. Sasuke glared at Kiba and stood up. As if, Kiba. We, Uchiha, run the Konoha military police. Before the argument could escalate, Takuza held his hands in X position. Sorry, both of you got it wrong. Yuzuriha quickly added before the two boys felt offended on their clan's behalf. First of all, in Inuzuka-kun's case, your clan specializes in tracking and your clan techniques are geared towards offense. So no, defense is not your clan's forte. As for Uchiha-kun, while yes, the Konoha police force is in charge of civilians and thus, your clan defends Konoha to a degree, your clan largely works at a domestic level, and that's as far as it could get to the outer perimeter of our defense line. Both boys seemed placated by the explanation and satisfied. Shikamaru raised his hand, surprising Iruka because the boy just participated on his own accord. Then why can't the Inuzuka or other offense-oriented clans be our first line of defense? While it's troublesome, offense could be the best defense. His father had taught him that. That's an excellent argument. Yuzuriha nodded more to herself than to the boy, as expected of Narayer. It's true any shinobi can be Konoha's defense, however, the Konoha the Shodaime built will never use offense as the best defense and never will. Attacking first before we get attacked is not in line with his wish for peace when he built Konoha. Iruka nodded at that. As Yuzuriha-san said, Konoha's way is different to most shinobi villages. A bit of history lesson here. The Shodaime and the other founders built Konoha to end the warring clans era and, in his reign, he promoted peace and tranquility. Which is why Konoha's first defense is pure defense, Takuza finished. As for the answer we're looking for. Takuza walked towards the blackboard and began to draw, the sketch quickly forming Konoha's outer wall with a strange hemisphere covering the village. Konoha is the only village protected by a barrier as old as the village herself, our first line of defense that protects both the shinobi and civilians of Konoha. Iruka gaped, he didn't know that. Wait, this was not something confidential, right? Yuzuriha giggled at his horrified face. Don't worry, it's not a military secret, the majority of shinobi just don't know because no one tells them. The barrier had just been there since forever, like part of the scenery. It would be like telling people in Konoha about the Hokage monument, the only difference was that it couldn't be seen with naked eye. Shikamaru raised his hand once again. And this barrier is created through Fuinjutsu, right? Correct, Yuzuriha answered, maybe there was hope for this kid after all. Then, Shikamaru slumped in his seat, looking up at the ceiling with a sigh. Troublesome. The Shiamatsu sibling's sweat dropped and, as soon as his interest waned, he acted like he wanted to be anywhere but here. Takusa quickly drew something on the blackboard, before all enthusiasm was sucked out. Iruka let out a silent scream, his mouth opened wide at the sight of the very familiar seal formula Takusa was drawing on their blackboard. Takusa-kun. What are you doing? That's an explosive seal. It didn't look like the common formula sold at the market, but the kanji baku, explosion, in the middle was unmistakable. That got a reaction from his students. Half was in a panic while the other half was excited in hope something going boom. Settle down, kids. You, too, Iruka-sensei. Takusa sighed loudly. No qualified seal master would let a seal as basic as this to explode in their face. All panicked students quickly sat back down in their seats, and now they were as interested as the excited students about the seal. After all, as academy students, they were still forbidden from purchasing them. Uchiha, recognizing the gleam in their eyes, quickly added, and no, even if you guys somehow managed to redraw this at home, it won't explode. Why? Some boys whined in disappointment. The formula looked very simple. Just a squiggly-looking circle and the kanji in the center. Takusa grinned mischievously. To know that, you have to sign up for the class, kid, and then we will tell you why. The reason was simple. This was the compact formula of a high-grade Kaibaku Futa, so the real formula was 3 times the size of the sketch on the board. This formula could be downsized to be as small as coin, unlike mass-produced ones that filled the whole paper tag. One boy snorted. Why can't we just buy it from the store rather than drawing them ourselves? At that question, Iruka winced. That was one of the reasons he was worried about, which may dampen their interest in fuinjutsu. Seals could be bought in stores, which was one of many reasons why not many shinobi wanted to delve into this obscure art. It was, in Shikamaru's words, troublesome. Takusa didn't seem to be offended by this question, and Iruka had a feeling that the Shiamatsu siblings already had a list of possible annoying things the kids would throw at them. Then we have a question for you. Who are the strongest shinobi that are also a seal master? That drew blank looks from most students save a few. Sakura raised her hand quickly. Yondaime-sama. Namikaze Minato. That answer broke the silence and the students began to chatter amongst themselves. It was no wonder to children and civilians. The Yondaime was a war hero and his prowess was well known. But only shinobi knew what backed up that legendary reputation. Correct. Yondaime-sama's Hiraishin no Jutsu is actually a fuinjutsu, Uchiha began to explain. However, it should be known that this technique is not his original creation, but a recreation of the Enidaime's work. Then Enidaime-sama is a seal master, too. Takusa nodded sagely. It's not common knowledge, but all Hokage at least have some rudimentary skills in fuinjutsu. The Yondaime and Enidaime, in particular, are masters in their own right. Kiba piped in. But how come they had time to kick ass if they're stuck reading scrolls and drawing? Iruka decided that, after this seminar was over, he had to give Kiba a stern lecture. At that question Uchiha pulled the long scarf on her neck, then without warning the long fabric darted out and grabbed one of logs for kawarimi practice stacked on the corner of their classroom. The fabric wrapped around the log and it broke to splinters. Iruka gaped in shock. By all rights, a fabric that thin should not be able to break a lot, and from such distance to boot. Kiba cringed, holding a hand to his nose. Yikes. What the hell, something's burning. Iruka eyed the broken log and indeed, there was smoke drifting from it in grey wisps and, when he hovered his hand over the remains, there was heat. This is. There are 2 types of seal master, combat, and support. Uchiha held up 2 fingers. As you can see, I am a combat seal master, so all my seals are geared towards aiding my other shinobi arts. On the other hand, support specialists delve into broader fields for their seals such as communications, medical usage, security, and so on. However, this doesn't mean they're less combat effective, but their field of expertise require more research time and preparation. Of course, there are seal masters who excel in both, Takusa added. Enidaime-sama, in particular, was one. The Yondaime, on the other hand, was a very skilled combat seal master. Iruka had the sudden realization that these 2 probably knew more history than him. So it's difficult to excel in both. Even though, technically, they were all fuinjutsu? Takusa nodded. Ah, yes, well actually, for rudimentary seals like the explosive tag and storage scroll, any seal master could make them with their own original touch. However, as you get higher in rank, you can't be a jack of all trades. In Fuinjutsu, you can't learn anything by half, and those who specialize in both combat and support seals are called generalists, and really, even they only excel in few more branches of Fuinjutsu than average. Their skills in the rest would be just as rudimentary as any other. So there are very few of them. Hi, currently in our division, there are 2 of them out of over 60 certified seal masters. Uchiha told him brightly. Iruka gaped at that 2 out of over 60 was. Then isn't that sucky? A student grumbled. Takuza shrugged. This also applies to shinobi from the regular forces. Becoming a jack of all trades is not going to help you advance very far in ranks. In fact, it's discouraged, and genin are told to look for a specialized skill to make their name on. That earned them thoughtful looks from the students. It was pretty clear that most of them hadn't made any long-term plans for their career. Takuza privately suspected that they were naively thinking along the lines of graduating and then promptly becoming a kick-ass ninja. This was going to be a long way for any of them to think about the advantage of being an intern. So, let us now enlighten you on the most basic fundamentals of Fuinjutsu. Takuza began with an almost maniacal gleam on his eyes. Uchiha paled. Takuza maybe. Too late. Takuza had started and no one could stop him. The tower, meanwhile. Naruto snapped his head to random direction, suddenly feeling as though he had forgotten something important and was about to regret it. Naruto-sama. Ah, yes, Hakure. He was almost spacing out just now. Naruto-sama, this is not what I had in mind when I advised you to seek an audience with Tokugawa Ieyasu. Naruto-sama was obviously resisting his urge to fidget, staying as still as a statue. He was getting very good at it. Itachi-kun was a good role model. Neither I was, to be honest, he admitted almost sheepishly. Things got out of hand, very quickly. It always will. Did Hakure expected anything less after the Aizen's incident, Root's attack, and, well, the dozens of other, smaller, troubles he and his friends got themselves into? Frankly, the only venture into trouble Naruto-sama attempted that didn't get out of hand was that one mission for Na no Kuni, if you discount the way he discovered the loose alliance between the oldest brother with Yuki no Kuni, and the bigger mess that was their current daimyo sponsoring rogue ninja to stage a coup in minor countries without a shinobi village's protection. Alright, bad example. Hiruzen was pretty unhappy that Umbu and Root had to be dispatched to prevent the spread of Yuki's rogue network. Now, it was minor annoyance, but in few years, it would cost them too many potential clients to ignore. Konoha might have reputation as the nicest shinobi village, but that was only relative to the others. They did not dabble in charity for no reason. Even so, Hakure trailed off, eyeing the copy of their contract. This is on a completely different scale of get out of hand, or going downhill, even by your standards, young master. I know. This must be what a fox feels when it has to drag a captured prey bigger than it is. Kurama was not amused at Naruto imagining the cube the size of a normal fox, huffing and failing to drag a giant meat into his den. And then said meat squashed it. Hakure's left eye twitched. While I get what you're getting at, Naruto-sama, bite off more than you can chew would be more apt. You don't have to invent a new idiom. In my case, I shoved the whole thing to my mouth. He opened his mouth wide to emphasize his point but was stopped before he could pull at the inside of his cheek to open it wider by Hakure. The older seal master wondered why his master, in spite of being mature most of the time, would act like a kid at such random moments. I get it, young master, he assured the young Uzumaki. But please don't repeat that within Hiruzen's hearing range. It would be a disaster. Huh. He blinked in confusion before he realized the accidental double entendre. Oh, he grimaced. Oak. He made choked-out noises, disgusted by his own words. Sometimes, he wished his young master was still as oblivious as Itachi-kun where sexual innuendo was concerned. No such luck, of course, especially with Shin and Sai living in the tower. He was tempted to march back to Root's headquarters to bash Danzo's head in because the idiot thought assigning Shin and Sai to learn civilian behavior in an area close to the red light district was a brilliant idea. They didn't curse like sailors, fortunately. No, their new wards were some of the most polite children Hakure had ever had the pleasure of being acquainted with. However, they came to know the mechanics of procreation too early and they were getting too eager to share. He had a feeling that the reason conventional emotional conditioning failed on them was partly because of this. It would have been ironically hilarious on Danzo's part, but it had lost its amusement factor when Shin and Sai became their responsibility. He had lost count of how many bars of soap he'd had to sacrifice to stop them from talking about genitals on a daily basis. It was too late, though their slip UPS had lit Naruto-sama's burning curiosity and, like any curiosity-driven Uzumaki, he looked it up. Well, at least it was a good lesson that not every new thing you heard was worth researching. At least now, Naruto-sama would be well informed, for himself and Itachi-kun. That irresponsible Fugaku brat he never changed at all. He always ditched babysitting duty even when he was a child. Speaking of Fugaku. Has Fugaku been informed? Naruto-sama stopped his gagging and turned his attention back to Hakure. If he has not, he is being informed as we speak or soon enough. He shrugged. By the way, where are Takuza and Yuzuriha? It's weird that they didn't welcome me home today. Oh, they're at the academy for that seminar you proposed. Naruto blinked at that. Eh? I thought I told you to send Yuzuriha only, and if you have to send 2 seal masters, why not Shien? Didn't Naruto-sama also say that sending someone young makes a better first impression? We're selling the image of a spirited division already full of the younger generation. Hakure looked very proud about their campaign. Naruto's left eye twitched. I believe I said something along the lines of, someone close to their age would have an easier time for kids to warm up to them. And since when were we a spirited division full of young people? That would be a hoax since I can count the number of people under 20 living here with my fingers. Yes, they really needed a fresh batch of the next generation. However, Naruto was not so optimistic to believe that there would be a lot potential recruits found at the academy. Back at the academy. Wait. Yuzuriha-san. Takuza-san. Iruka called out after the Shiamatsu siblings. 2 dot-shaped eyebrows shot up at him, obviously not expecting him to chase them down a hallway across the academy after dismissing his class. Iruka-sensei, do you need something from us? He panted softly. There are students who are interested in your class. Your division. Please consider them. The 2 shared a speaking look with each other and Iruka didn't have to know them to guess what they were thinking. They obviously couldn't believe that he would run after them just because they rejected some civilian students. Then again, Iruka was sure they didn't care whether the students they rejected were civilian or clan-born. However, Iruka wanted all his students to have a better chance at advancing into the shinobi force even if they were not part of the 3 lucky teams out of 10. However, the chance of that failing percentage getting better was close to nil, especially in a class full of clan heirs like his, so their only chance was getting into a division's core as an intern. I did tell you, Anaki, using handwriting skill as a reason is not going to cut it, Takuza-san, the younger Shiamatsu, said to his sister. Yuzuriha, the older sister, frowned. Well, it's not like we have to explain ourselves to kids. Iruka swallowed. So there are more reasons to this. He trailed off unsurely. Takuza sighed loudly. Let us be frank here. Did you know Atla, currently in first year, is the first Shiamatsu clan child that has entered the academy during the second reign of the Sandaime? Atla? He knew of the kid since the young Shiamatsu stood out from the crowd of children like a sore thumb with his lilac hair. He was also one of smallest kids in his class and Daikoku-sensei always boasted about the boy's talent and how he was ahead of his peers even when compared to other clans' children. Not the next Uchiha Itachi but close enough. We don't want to offend anyone but honestly, we don't have a high opinion about the academy curriculum, Yuzuriha told him bluntly, and Iruka, for one endless moment, felt like someone just poured a bucket of ice water on his head. Which is why we see no point attending the academy, and so far, as you can see, we have no problem whatsoever to advance in rank without a formal education here. Takuza nodded sagely. The quality of education here has been deteriorating since the end of the Third Shinobi War, and even geniuses that graduated early from the academy are not impressed themselves. I believe teachers here said, they graduate early because we don't have anything left to teach them, and then proceed to wash their hand off of them. But even so, those students. Iruka trailed off. I mean, I don't think all of them will advance to master fuinjutsu, but rudimentary skill alone could be vital. Especially the medical fuinjutsu they presented as an example that could boost survival rate of their force. Yuzuriha shook his head. Please don't think poorly of us. We didn't reject them because of our low opinion of the academy, but rather because we're shinobi and seal masters. It's necessary for us to look at problem objectively. While the foundations of fuinjutsu are rudimentary, your students can't just join without the necessary skills in things such as calligraphy, kanji, mathematics, and basic knowledge on chakra natures. We would be willing to waive off the last one since they are third years and it's possible for us to teach them alongside ongoing academy lessons, Takuza added. But the first two are not an option without a steady hand to write. It will take them too long to follow our lessons, and the same with math. We opened this class with the hope of getting fresh candidates from outside, branching out more styles of our fuinjutsu. Yuzuriha trailed off. However, your students, sans a few clan children, are all lagging behind in comparison of ours. And, we're so low in number that we don't have enough people to spare for teaching a class your size. Takuza pointed at classrooms around them. One seal master could only keep their eyes on a limited number of children. Even the 6 children we pointed out that can join the class this year will require 2 teachers in every class, and after the foundation year, if they wish to continue, a minimum of 1 master will responsible for 2 students, and that's 3 masters cutting their research time for teaching. The male Shiamatsu sighed loudly. We would love to teach more, I understand your feelings, Iruka-sensei, but we seriously don't have the resources to accommodate so many kids at once. And with that, they left Iruka, who mulled over their words. Uchiha compound, main family house. It was late, and at last, his father returned from his patrol. Itachi was getting restless, but he let his father take a bath and finish eating his late dinner. Then they got down to business. Better to get this done as soon as possible. Judging from the thunderous expression his father wore, Itachi supposed they were on the same page in regards of Ieyasu's proposal. On one hand, it was exactly what they needed to get out of their rut, but on the other hand, they couldn't see it passing through their elders. As Naruto said and Itachi concurred, Ieyasu either didn't get the memo or he didn't care they were running a clan and not a monarchy. It's a wonderful proposal, his mother, who was reading the scroll his father passed on after he was done, aloud. It would do wonders for our image and grant us more integration into Konoha as a whole, and also a connection to the royal family. Right. His father concurred. Right. He echoed. But Uchiha Mikoto paused before a gloomy cloud fell over the occupants of the room. Her voice was small when she continued, unbefitting of the Uchiha matriarch, but no one in the room cared. How are we going to convince the elders, the clan, to go through with this? Uchiha Fugaku was frowning, the creases of his aged face deepening. Does Tokugawa Dano even know how a clan works? Surprisingly, in Konoha, most large clans were managed with the same system, even though they vastly varied on the minutiae. Every clan was led by a main family with the head of said family as clan head, who operated with the assistance of their clan elders. This system kept any one part from having too much power. At first glance, the clan head seemed to be most powerful position in a clan, but the elders always keep a watchful eye on Fugaku's decisions. Everything he did in the name of the clan had to be approved by the elders. They also had enough power to dismiss their clan head if they judged him unfit to lead the clan. We also wondered about the same thing, at first, Itachi explained. Then we realized it was his way to assist us, but not by making it easy, and teaching us something in the same time. And this lesson is not, make our elders eat their pride and put the good of the clan first, I suppose. Fugaku said in driest tone he could muster. It was not hard to figure out. Itachi inclined his head respectfully. Forgive me, To-san, but frankly, if we can't get our clansmen to set aside their foolish pride and see that there are more important matters like the future generation, our lives, and so on, we would be stuck in a loop and nothing gets solved. Itachi, you do realize, their anger towards Konoha is not completely misplaced. Pride aside, it was justified to resent their isolation and mistreatment when it was based on unfounded accusations. I can't deny that, Itachi concurred. However, there are more important things. He shook his head. Let me phrase it differently. Pride is important for, without pride, we will lose our sense of self as members of the Uchiha clan. However, in my opinion, pride is. Naruto's and Shisui's smiling faces flashed through his mind, the feeling of contentment and acceptance whenever they traveled through the elemental countries to explore historical sites, unveiling the legacy of their ancestors. Accompanying Naruto on weird missions that were more like glorified D-ranks plus dealing with pompous nobles and occasionally lovesick princesses. Then on their way home after a mission or training, eating sweets in quaint tea houses together. Oi! Itachi, doesn't that tea house seem to be to your taste? They have dango, too. I guess it's fine for you to eat so much sweets, since you overwork your brain, unlike Shisui. Naruto. You smartass. His little brother, Sasuke, who was totally clueless of what was happening in their clan, their village. Sasuke, who looked at him with adoration and worship he didn't deserve and wanted nothing more than to spend more time with him. Nisan. Teach me the shuriken technique. Please. Any, you promise. Next time, again. Mao. Nisan, you always says that. He couldn't even give Sasuke that, and yet his brother still adored him all the same. If pride is something we Uchiha can't give up, no matter what, Itachi murmured softly, and then with firmer voice he elaborated. Then my pride is my friends, my family, my village. Their expressions were unreadable as Itachi went on. Because even if, in the end, we fight for our superficial pride as the Uchiha clan, if, in the process, we lost everything we hold dear, I don't think it's worth it. If, for the pride of one Uchiha clan, Konoha was burned in the flames of civil war. Is that what the clan truly wants? Would resorting to that give us what we wanted? Itachi asked, almost pleading. For a long while neither Fugaku nor Mikoto answered, then the Uchiha matriarch slowly shook her head forlornly. Kushina was my friend, my closest friend. Kushina the Whirlpool Princess, short-tempered, free-spirited, and loud. A friend who had dragged her all over Konoha to have fun, ruining her Uchiha facade, and made her feel human. Kushina, who seemed unafraid of anything, and yet she was openly fretting at the prospect of giving birth. Kushina and Minato died for Konoha while simultaneously sacrificing their most precious treasure. Their own son, the sun-haired child she had been given a glimpse of from behind a glass wall in the hospital 8.5 years ago. How she regretted that she could never hug that poor child for Kushina. If there is anything this village did that made me want to burn it to the ground. Itachi tensed as he felt his mother's killing intent. She was really angry and it scared him that his gentle mother was hiding this resentment to their village. It's that, they dishonor Kushina's. Minato's sacrifice. They hurt an innocent child who deserved love from his parents. Parents who died for them. His mother was wheezing now, it was rare of her to lose control of her emotion. She was always good at suppressing her feelings, even more than his father. But, Itachi, keep in mind, we're a proud clan but we're not suicidal either. Mikoto's self-control was back faster than they could blink. We've never been fools. Sometimes, he forgot that it was his mother who was the daughter of previous clan head, the heiress. Yes, Ka-san. Our clansmen will not accept this proposal just because your father and I order them to. This is a clan, we can't make our family do something they don't want to do, she told him in a firm voice, and his heart sank that he had failed. However, you have not failed. He must have looked ridiculous with wide eyes and gaping mouth while his parents just looked amused. You and your friends found us a new path for this clan to take. We might hesitate to walk on this path now but we can change our minds. His father nodded, the clan head was not smiling but Itachi easily recognized the proud glint of approval in his eyes. After all, I recall that even Madara changed his mind for a while, allowing the Uchiha clan to join hands with the Senju. That's why we're here, and the clan stays even though Madara left. He uncrossed his arms, sighing softly before adding. So, Itachi, give us some credit, will you? Mikoto smiled at her husband before turning her attention back to Itachi. The clan has disappointed you greatly, I know we have, but I would like to think that what your father has said is one proof that we're capable of change, and we will not follow Madara's footstep. Itachi inhaled sharply. I am so sorry. He was sorry he lost faith in them, passing judgment as he pleased like the rest of the village to his clan. It's fine, Itachi, everyone makes mistakes, that's how we grow. Mikoto came closer, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. It will be a very slow progress, Mikoto admitted almost sheepishly. But we will not fail you again, give us a chance, so you, Naruto-kun, and Shisui-kun don't have to do everything by yourselves. He nodded numbly, it felt like a world's worth of weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Thank you. Ka-san, To-san. You're welcome, Itachi. Their moment was interrupted by the sound of footsteps. The owner tried to be stealthy but they were all experienced ninja. Mikoto sighed before turning towards the shoji door. Sasuke, why you're not in bed yet? Itachi could almost hear his brothers flinch from behind the door that slowly slid open, and there he was. His adorable little brother who was trying to eavesdrop but they caught him before he could. Sasuke had not let go of the door, his eyes darted wildly from each of them. It was easy to see what was going inside Sasuke's head, he was an open book to them. I am thirsty, he said timidly. Which was not a complete lie. Because Itachi could tell Sasuke wake up because of thirst, but that didn't explain why he was in opposite direction to the kitchen from his bedroom. Obviously he overheard some voices, most likely when their mother's momentary loss of self-control. Then he decided to investigate. Sasuke was as bad as Naruto when it comes to keeping his nose out of trouble. Though Naruto was undoubtedly worse because trouble also come knocking at his door too. After you get your drink from the kitchen, go back to your bed alright. Their mother chided him. He nodded. Yes, Ka-san. Ah, Sasuke. There was a strange glint on her eyes, and Sasuke stopped on his track. We will have someone special to come over for dinner soon. She had been informed of their official team first before Itachi told them about the proposal and hoped the good news did wonder to her mood. Be in your best behavior, but I am sure you two will be good friends with each other. Sasuke blinked in confusion, his mother never really encouraged him to make friends like this. If you say so, Ka-san. Itachi began to reconsider their dinner invitation. Considering Naruto's mental age, her mother would be disappointed if she thought Naruto was Sasuke's age in mind and body. It would be like a repeat of his childhood, one of few times he failed his parents spectacularly with screwing up that playdate. Maybe Naruto wouldn't screw up as badly as he did. Maybe. Back to the tower. So what is Satori? Hakure sighed, he must have thought Naruto was distracted enough to forget his first question before Hakure divert the topic to bigger concern like the proposal and his engagement. Can't this wait, Naruto-sama? I am giving you a chance to give me edited explanation. He retorted smoothly. I finished my paperwork, and tomorrow is my rare day off, so if you can enlighten me, and if it's something that will give me another headache on top of everything else, I want to get it over with, sleep it off tomorrow. He told Hakure his perfect reasoning. His oldest vassal sighed loudly, why did he tell you about Satori? Naruto cleared his throat, well, his words quote, so when inevitably you awaken it completely you're not going straight to a Yamanaka or psychiatrist, end quote. Any other day he would laugh at Hakure's slack-jawed expression, but now he was more concerned why this Satori get this kind of reaction. Well, did you hear voices sometimes, Naruto-sama? I am sane. He insisted. Hakure sighed loudly. Naruto-sama, contrary to popular belief, hearing voices in your head is not a sign of insanity. So you're not going to call a Yamanaka? Of course not, and beside I don't think Kurama-san will appreciate visitors, invited or not. Hakure pointed out. So the voices. My imagination most likely. Naruto-sama waved it off dismissively. Overactive imagination, happen to anyone when people around them gives you dose of death glare and you start imagining hearing voices when in reality no people talking, just scowling and muttering. Silence. Hakure's eyes were wide in horror at the revelation. Since when? How often? On occasion, since forever. How he could remember that when? You know, kids. It was not easy for him to retell his crappy childhood. Why, Hakure asked again. I don't anymore. He was not sure if he really didn't hear those anymore or he was so used to it like background noises. Not until Ieyasu. The older seal master's mouth opened and closed repeatedly and Naruto would have laughed if not for horrified expression Hakure had. How are you still sane, young master? Naruto was not impressed. So at last you of all people ask me that question. He retorted flatly. Taking everything in stride, grin, and bear it. Actually, you just shove all bad thoughts into deepest corner of your mind. Kurama pointed out. And since, unlike Shukaku, I don't fancy crazy host, which is why I am holding back the ill intention detector when you were small. Not out of good intention, mind you. He insisted. Naruto snorted. Kurama always acted like he was personification of hate hell-bent to destroy the world. Kurama was vengeful but the Biju was above taking it on a human child. Alright, so Hakure, you never answer my question. Can you tell me now? Hakure contemplated his choice and decided. Give me time Naruto-sama, 1 month, he proposed. After 1 month, I promise I will tell you everything you want to know. Naruto wanted to protest but at the look on Hakure's eyes, he changed his mind. Hakure was his aide, the old seal master wouldn't break a promise made to him. If he delayed telling Naruto, Hakure should have a very good reason to do so. Fine, 1 month. Depends on the situation, it could be less than that. Hakure continued, earning confused look from Naruto. I need to prepare for something first, and Naruto-sama in this 1 month please avoid crowded places in the village. If you had to go to Hokage Tower or anywhere outside of our tower, please bring someone with you. Itachi-kun, Shisui-kun, even Sai-kun. Anyone available so you won't be alone. Why? Naruto hoped at least he would be given an answer why he couldn't go anywhere alone. Hakure inhaled softly. If what Ieyasu-sama feared is right, you will be in a delicate condition around this time. Until I finish my preparation, please be vigilant. Naruto swallowed. Any other time he would be offended getting treated like glass, but Hakure was seriously worried. Is that all? Don't go outside by myself, get it? Also decrease your use of Kage Bunshin for strenuous task. Hakure added in firm tone. Don't strain your mind too much, but you can train your body as usual. Which meant this month had to be stress-free for him. That would be hard. He admitted. But I will do my best. Hakure sighed. Naruto-sama, why don't you take another time off? I will personally instruct a new meditation procedure to you after you finish your business with Hiruzen. Meditation? Naruto could help but sigh. I start to feels like shinobi on medical leave. Almost. Hakure admitted in amused tone. At least you are not in disinfectant-smelling room, so count your blessing, young master. Uchiha Compound, Uchiha Senbei. Shisui-kun. I don't mind having you coming over for dinner, in fact I would love to have you living with us here so you can always get proper meals. Uchiha Uroshi, the wife of Uchiha Itachi, trailed off as cupping her cheek. But can't you read our clan's record tomorrow morning, Shisui? Itachi continued with a huff. Uchiha Senbei was a secret library of their clan's document, which because of their secret recipe on Senbei didn't make it odd for them to keep secret document. They were low priority record anyway, stuffs like family tree of Uchiha civilians, non-military assets, and so on. In short, civilian record that mattered little for military part of the clan. We don't mind you reading them, as it's just our family tree. On females of their clan that married outsiders. Why you're interested in those names anyway? Shisui stopped his perusing and pointed at one name, Taikijii. This Uchiha, named Mayumi. She is older than you boy. Use suffix. Taiki chided the Shushin expert, shaking his head exasperatedly. It was a common name, but this was the only Mayumi with year of birth that fit the profile he had in mind. I mean Mayumi-san, who is she married to? Taiki pointed his finger at the mentioned name then drew a vertical line. Here. The name got smudge on it, shouldn't you take a good care of it? Shisui moaned, not to mention the smudged name seemed to us complicated kanji. Uroshi clasped her hands together, Mayumi? Oh, if Mayumi-chan she is married to. She trailed off. Who? Shisui asked eagerly. The old couple was very confused why Shisui was interested. Tiaki rubbed the back of his head. I don't remember, Mayumi you see, is one of those odd Uchiha like Obito-kun. Shisui cringed, which mean most clan members prefer to forget they exist unless they shows talent like me. In fact she was worse. Tiaki shook his head, sometimes there are Uchiha without Sharingan born in our clan, we never know why they pop up in random but Mayumi was one of them. He frowned, how do we know she didn't have it? I mean, she could be a late bloomer. It's easy to tell. Tiaki pointed at his own eyes, so dark to the point the pupil could be barely seen. They have eyesight problems since birth, the color of their eyes are much lighter so their pupils show and any child they sired will have zero chance to develop Sharingan. Shisui cringed, with that kind of trait no wonder it was easy to recognize those with dormant gene for Sharingan. No wonder the clan didn't mistook late bloomer with those who really can't develop their Jujutsu. Which is why our clan didn't keep track of their descendants, but you really don't know her spouse. Uroshi blushed, I do remember a little, Mayumi's husband is a very beautiful man. Everyone was so jealous of her, it's hard to keep our eyes off of him. Tiaki cleared his throat loudly and his wife just laughed sheepishly. You're already dating me back then and yet you stared at that man too long for my liking. The female Uchiha huffed, well. I already have you but no one said I can't look, it's harmless. Shisui wished he was not here to hear Uroshi Baa fangirling in her youth. So anyone remember his name? It would be ridiculous they remembered he is pretty but not his name. At blank look he received he changed strategy. How does this guy look like? Before Uroshi could launch her answer, Tiaki talked first. Looks like a woman. That better be not your green monster talking Tiaki-ji. Shisui deadpanned. Most of the time he braided his hair and tied half up, and his hair is longer than most women. He huffed. And there was one time I saw the guy wearing his hair in twin pigtails for who knows why, it's easier to remember his weirdness than his name even after all these years. Uroshi sighed dreamily, well, he has bright blonde hair. That was the striking trait, especially since all Uchiha had dominant dark hair. Shisui froze, Yamanaka's pale blonde. No, more vivid blonde. Tiaki denied. Like sunflowers yellow I guess. And the eye color? Blue, also in vivid shade like sky. Tiaki nodded to himself. I remember well because back then I couldn't help but wonder with coloring like that how he can be stealthy in the forest. I mean Yamanaka at least stays inside command center when we're in war. There was no mistake, it was most likely true to his wild guess and explained i.e. Yasuo's and Tatsuka's strange comment on their family relation. Is Uchiha Mayumi married to someone called Muramasa? The look on their face as if a light bulb on their head was turned on said everything. Ah, yes, how do you know that name? I already forgot his name as he is more famous by looks in our clan back then than his name. An eccentricity, couldn't forget that one after decades. Shisui swallowed, never mind that but if Mayumi-san had a grandchild, isn't that mean he or she is our cousin? Tiaki raised an eyebrow at the question and flipped the record open. According to our family tree yes, the grandchild is your cousin, to be more exact third cousin to Itachi-kun and third cousin twice removed to you. That night after leaving Uchiha Senbei in a daze of zombie-like state Shisui was torn between sneaking to Itachi's bedroom or to Naruto's. In the end he decided to head straight to his bed. Ha ha ha, we're all related. Freaking noodle-like family tree. Shisui stopped breathing for a second, his hitched voice muffled by his pillow. Wait a minute, if Naruto is Itachi's third cousin, isn't that make Fugakuji Yondaime's second cousin? Fugakuji's second cousin equals Yondaime equals Uchiha Hokage. Awesome. The next day. Keep his mind calm and emotion controlled. Naruto felt like Hakure was trying to make him maintaining Buddha-like mind state. Though of course focusing on keeping serene mind was a dreadful task for an Uzumaki. Shisui was the biggest obstacle with his fidgeting, for some reason since they meet up in front of the tower the Uchiha looked like he wanted to say something. Something surprising most likely if his excited chakra was anything to go by. though for some reason he had not managed to utter a complete sentence since then. Itachi once again mentioned about their dinner plan with his family, which most likely would be sometime around next week because only then they had free time to go. I see you have finished your paperwork in order. The Hokage commented, flipping through the papers. He didn't fail to note the one who was filling in their team's specification was Naruto. It was a surprise the team was specified as heavy combat team first and foremost, but also noted they had required skill for tracking and capture because of Shisui's sensory skill and Naruto's chains and espionage. Though Hakure, who was writing their recommendation letter, also wrote in fine letter, "Don't believe anything they modestly wrote on themselves, they're an all-rounder team." All-rounder, a team with adequate skills in every field of mission and better at selected fields. His students had been such team with their diverse skills. They lean more on information gathering and heavy combat, if you don't have any clue yet. The irony was, this team from their mission record was good at escort mission. Though if the latest case of making a deal behind his back they concocted was anything to go by, information gathering and infiltration they were so good it was mostly done for their own purpose. Perhaps. So how is Kiba no Kuni the last time you visit them, Naruto-kun? He asked in light-hearted tone on country led by Daimyo, who recently requested Naruto's expertise in ward seal. Naruto-kun blinked at him owlishly. Pretty tense considering their trades with Tsame no Kuni is not doing so well. Why are they not doing so well? Kato Dano thinks the tax for exporting leather getting is too expensive. Naruto shrugged, there is an idea of political marriage circulating around, but the prince of Tsame is too young and princess of Kiba is too old. The Hokage stared at him in disbelief. How about Haki no Kuni then? I heard it's a very lovely country but they're not doing so good with their neighbors. Naruto laughed at that, waving his hand in negative. Ah. Not at all, their princess is a good friend with court ladies and consorts from Haku no Kuni. That country is much bigger and with considerable influence too. They invited Lady Mitsu to their spring banquet just last month. So since then the country of northwest part of continent has been pretty cozy. He chirped happily. And Sanma no Kuni. At the mentioned name Naruto frowned. There is an explosion of salmon population this year for some reason, so it's unbelievably cheap. The Sarutobi stared at him in disbelief. Naruto-kun, how do you remember that? He smiled sheepishly at that. Since we finish our mission faster than expected we have binge eating in Sanma no Kuni, there is a nice Asen treating us on boat with his best sashimi. Cut straight after he caught it. It's really good. Shisui nodded eagerly. He was glad they enjoyed their mission, but it seemed half of the time their mission turned to culinary vacation. Never mind the fish, how do you know about the political situation in those countries? You spend less than a few days there to finish your work. And Naruto-kun was faster than most sealing master. The blonde looked very confused. How? They told me of course. Who? Kato Dano from Kiba no Kuni himself, and Lady Mitsu from Haki no Kuni of course. He informed the Hokage. They seem to think since we're young they should treat us to tea and sweets. Almost all nobles did the same. We have a nice chat as usual, and it's interesting. As usual? Naruto-kun, usually nobles, especially royalty, didn't treat shinobi sweets and talk about politics with them. Young or not, Naruto was a shinobi. Naruto looked very confused. But it's no different than telling people how your day's going. Silence. Shisui raised his hand. Hokage-sama, in case you have not noticed yet, Naruto for some reason have people left and right spilling their life story to him. Naruto glared at the Shushin expert. Don't make me sound like a disease. Sympathetic ears go a long way, you know. A long way to get blackmail material. Earning clients' trust of course. Baka. Naruto huffed before turning his attention back to their Hokage. Ah, my apologies about that, Hokage-sama, is there anything else? The Hokage shook his head mirthfully. Well, I believe Hakure said you guys will surprise me this Friday. As one the three young shinobi blinked owlishly at him before sharing speaking look. Ah. I think Hakure Shishao is talking about our joint training with everyone. Now it was the Hokage's turn to blink. Everyone. Hi. Since Hokage-sama will be there to watch, We will make sure to perform our best," he promised, beaming at him. On the way back to tower, "Can we avoid crowded places?" Naruto requested and vaguely gestured towards a long detour towards the tower. Itachi eyed his friend with worry. "Why so many precautions all of a sudden?" he asked warily. "You're not sick, are you?" Naruto shook his head. "I don't think so. I don't feel any different and Kurama will tell me if there is something wrong with my body." He rolled his eyes towards Itachi who was clearing his throat again. "Itachi, are you really alright? Don't exaggerate." Itachi sighed. "It's nothing. I went to hospital already. They said I am not feeling well because my last 2 missions are in places with different climate and my body didn't react well to the drastic change." Shisui frowned. "You're under the weather because of bad weather. Glad to know you still attempt to make a pun out of my misery, Shisui." Itachi deadpanned. Naruto glanced at the 2 Uchiha. Shisui was pouting at Itachi who ignored the pout like a pro. For some reason he had been feeling unwell, not in health but it felt like something was going down soon. The boy. B.A.K. Mono. His breath hitched sharply and without warning his seal of flight sparked to life and he jumped high 30 feet higher than intended. He yelped when a particularly strong wind blew over him and he crashed down the trees once the seal was off, and he almost face-planted to the ground before he stopped himself from sliding further down the trees. "Ha! Naruto! What come over you all of a sudden?" Itachi and Shisui shunshined to his side, equally shocked with what just happened. "Did you lose control of Hikau no Fun just now?" Itachi asked, checking his injury which only consisted of scratches. Naruto shook his head. "I don't get what come over me either, suddenly it feels like there is something. Something was going to attack him from direction of gathering villagers below that caught sight of him roof hopping. I was spacing out so my mind was unfocused and then I felt like I have to get away from something." He shuddered. Shisui frowned. "We don't feel anything dangerous before you suddenly take off like that, and you got blown away by wind to boot." Naruto nodded numbly. Yes, which mean I should improve on control for this seal soon." That was too close for his liking. "And I don't think there is anything dangerous that spook me either, it's just." "What do you feel exactly?" Itachi asked. "Like." He trailed off, searching for a way to describe the sensation. "Like that one time Shisui put his popsicle inside my shirt from behind." Shisui snickered. "How is that dangerous?" "It's not but it's unpleasant." Then Naruto moved his hand to his back as if trying to scratch an itch he couldn't reach. "And somehow whatever it is also left unpleasant feeling after most of it passed, like how cold, sticky, and itchy melting sweet treats is on my back." "You don't make any sense," Shisui pointed out. "I noticed." Naruto deadpanned. "But I don't want to think about it. Hakure made me swear I have to be stress-free for 1 month. That's impossible," Shisui told him mercilessly. Naruto growled, "Why not?" "Because to you and Itachi, stress seems to be part of your life and at this point it seems neither of you even notice the stress, and you don't know how to relax." In that moment Naruto and Itachi had one thought: why it's so annoying when Shisui is so right about us. "I do know how to relax. With taking care of my plants," Naruto protested. "So how is that seal to increase the rate of decomposing organic matter going?" "Good. I think Naruto stopped himself. Damn, since when Shisui was so good at proving his point. At his exasperation to Shisui, Naruto almost forgot about the nagging concern of something he didn't know spooking him in bright daylight in the middle of their village. Sealing Tower, Private Training Ground 03. The Sealing Tower referred to Sealing Division HQ on the center of Uzumaki refugees' land, almost an autonomous area like clan compound. Technically Sandaime as Hokage had a lot of say in this land, but in practice. "Please wait for a moment Hokage-sama, we shall inform Hakure-sama of your arrival." One of Hakure's disciple and clansmen, a young boy named Takuza, informed him. It was almost ridiculous that he couldn't enter a facility that belonged to Konoha as he pleased. "Very well, Takuza-kun." He watched the boy left but he didn't miss two sealing master discreetly keeping watch of him from the shadow. Seeing this, he couldn't help but wonder if it was right for Shodime and Nidime to give Mito-sama so much leeway with her vassals. Then again, back then after the First War, Uzumaki clan was greatly disappointed by the result of Hashirama's dream and refused to be absorbed to Konoha force. Especially since Shodime's gift was abused by other villages as tool of war, on top of that their greatest art was misused in the process. So Nidime scrambled to make amends and laid down autonomous right for Mito's sealing division, in fear his sister-in-law would abandon Konoha. Then again, perhaps it was for the best, since with Naruto here even Danzo couldn't go behind his back to make move against their Jinchuriki. He could try, but as proven few months ago, Danzo would suffer greatly if he dared to cross Hakure. Speaking of Hakure, the old seal master raised one calloused hand and unrepentantly accused him in the same sentence as his greeting. Yo! Hiruzen, you're late. A vein popped on his temple. Did Hakure just treat him like he was the chronically late Kakashi? For a moment he was tempted to tell ridiculous excuse just to see how it feels to be on the giving end, but decided to against it. With Hakure it wouldn't end in smug satisfaction in his part. You didn't tell me the exact time. So I come as soon as I finish my work. Hakure turned around. At any rate they're using the northeast part of training ground. He pointed at rising pillar of smoke, before beckoning him to follow. Now the blasted Shiamatsu ignored him. One of these days he would run out of patience for Hakure and joined his teammates in their most sincere effort to end the bastard. Wait, a pillar of smoke? Oh, calm down, you know us, something blowing up is part of our daily life. Hakure droned on. Now he remembered why Shodime and Tobirama-sensei decided to place the tower far away from general population of Konoha. That's only for you, seal masters of Uzushio. It was also why they were leading in this art in comparison of other village, they were as tough as cockroach. Again, his comment was ignored by Hakure, who stopped in front of a clearing, right before a dense forest typical in Konoha. In the clearing there was around 20 seal masters all dressed in white haori and blue hakama, looked put off with X mark ink in their person. They were groaning and taking notes rapidly. Ah, so you're out already, Iwa-san. Hiruzen recognized Iwafune Tenkei, one of few war veterans of Sealing Tower. Tenkei was a tall, lightly tanned man with chin-length, wavy, dark brown hair. He was drinking a can of beer and giving off lazy impression with his body language. Iwafune. A shinobi from Shikaku's generation and a half Nara, he didn't look like one, but he inherited their lazy disposition. You're drinking at noon, in presence of young shinobi. He raised his can of beer in salute. Oh come one Hokage-sama, let this old Iwata have his fun. He didn't look bothered by X mark that covered half of his face. I lasted exactly 1 hour and was gracefully taken out of the game. Exactly 1 hour meant he was purposely timing the moment. What game? He asked. At that moment Takuza and Shin tumbled out of the forest. Takuza had his X mark on neck while Shin had his in forehead. It was so close. Shin moaned. Takuza sighed loudly, and here I thought I can catch Shisui at least today. At least today he didn't paint your face black like last time. Shin pointed out with a grin. The Shiamatsu snarled, the jerk tried. Somewhere in training ground. Stealth was a very important part as Fuinjutsu practitioner, because their art was all about unpredictability and swift execution. So since young age all of them were taught stealth first thing before any shinobi arts in disguise of game. Hide and seek was a favorite pastime for children of the tower, and they prided themselves in art of stealth right after sealing. That skill didn't help them to hide from Naruto-sama and his Uchiha teammates though. Sure, the first times they played this game they could get upper hand in hide and seek with the Uzumaki and Uchiha in their backyard training ground. However, as time passed Naruto-sama was getting creative and the Uchihas knew the terrain well enough, so they were on equal ground. By now over 10 three-man cells from Sealing Division couldn't catch them in less than 3 hours, and most of the time after 3 hours they won the game. The worst part was Naruto-sama's creativity involved prank-themed seal, they were awful. So even though Yuzuriha loved Naruto-sama more than life itself, nothing would stop her from suffocating him with her SCR for using Gomen Jimen no Fune improved version that practically pulled people's limbs when the target entered certain range to glue her hands and left leg to tree branches. She looked ridiculous, like a helpless monkey. Do you need assistance, Yuzuriha-san? Sai asked as he appeared in swirl of ink, sitting on the branch her hand was glued to. The Shiamatsu sighed, yes, since my right hand is glued on the back and my left is on a branch as thick as my waist. I can't get out of this myself. She was already out of the game, since now her right arm bear X mark. And it's Nessan to you, we're family, Sai. Sai nodded and cut the branches with his kodachi he got from Shiamatsu clan to replace his root tanto. Hi. Where is Shin? Yuzuriha asked as she tried and failed to pull the branch off of her hand. We got separated by Naruto-sama's ingenious mud explosion. Sai explained. Yuzuriha just noticed there was caked mud on Sai's ebony hair. So they got you too, huh? Hi. Then he pointed at his cheek, but I am lucky enough it's Itachi-san who marked me, after all he has the smallest brush. She nodded, me too. Some guys aren't so lucky, that Shisui painted their face black with his 3-shaku brush. She really had to get her revenge on the next game, she didn't look better after Sai freed her. Naruto-sama turned her to a demented tree like one from Academy students' drama props. Time's up. Yuzuriha grumbled, have I told you, I hate that alarm so much. Sai nodded, for the last 3 bi-weekly games we have with Naruto-sama's team, it sounds of our defeat. I swear, if that Shisui glowed again I will dash. She clamped her mouth shut when she saw Sai pulling his note out. No Sai, I can't impart any wisdom in social interaction to you, and no, don't go looking for instructional book in relationship again. You're going to Skarshin and Takuya's already frail mental permanently at this rate. Sai nodded and put his note away. Shisui was gloating again and it was nothing unusual. Itachi was again looking at Iwafune forlornly, disappointed that once again the war veteran pulled one over them. If only the half-Nara bothered to try, they wouldn't win the game easily. Next time I will put some effort. Iwa-san chortled light-heartedly. Promise. Itachi frowned, that's what you always said, Iwa-san. Shisui grinned, Itachi, this is karma. Because Itachi always pulled this excuse on Sasuke. Naruto rolled his eyes, just take what we can get. Shisui, don't tease Itachi. And Itachi, you know Iwa-san. Eloquent as ever young master. That retort earned him a chokehold from smiling Hakure. Eek. Hakure grinned, my. Iwafune-kun, aren't you getting braver nowadays? Naruto narrowed his eyes at Iwafune who was flailing his arms in surrender, Iwafune-san. The previous war had not been kind to him, which was why someone who was as brilliant as Narashikaka was reduced to this cynical man who didn't take life seriously anymore. This is why war. His thought halted when he saw Sandaime walking towards them with thoughtful look. Sandaime-sama. Judging from his slight wince the Hokage still hoped Naruto would still call him Ji-chan fondly. Naruto-kun, Itachi-kun, Shisui-kun. I am impressed you can outwit so many shinobi in less than 3 hours. Though looking at young Yuzuriha and Sai, they also got pranked in the process. Naruto and Shisui beamed happily, while Itachi just smiled at the compliment. Thank you Hokage-sama. He was so lucky Homura and Koharu didn't come with him or he would never hear the end of it. He knew he wasted Naruto-kun's team's potential on C-rank mission, and he would rectify that as soon as he could. He didn't want Minato's son to run off behind his back again, who knows what he would got himself into next time. I watched the recording as I was late because someone didn't tell me when this hunt began. He shot Hakure a glare. Should I put you down as infiltration and espionage team or perhaps, tracking and capture? They shared a speaking look before Naruto spoke. Actually. So unanimously Naruto was the spokesperson of the team. I think we're more of heavy combat team, we are pretty good at stealth but we're better at destroying things. The irony of pacifist team to be so good at destroying things. Hakure disagreed, to be more exact you guys are all-rounder team. Sandaime's eyes softened, so they were not aware. Knowing them, they strived to train themselves to be able to deal with various kind of battle scenario. An all-rounder team is a team that specialized in wide range of field because the team members' diversity of skills and since his own team there was no all-rounder team in Konoha. Yondaime's team was close but war tore the team apart before they could get far. While he knew these 3 young shinobi were prodigies, 2 Uchihas in one team should mean more overlapped skills, and even a presence of Seal Master won't be enough for the team to have diverse enough skill. We are. Shisui blinked olishly. Judging from puzzled and skeptical look on Naruto and Itachi, they weren't sure either. They're getting there. Hakure elaborated, though perhaps in some area like interrogation they would still rely on seals and genjutsu instead of psychological game at this point, but trust me, I will not let you three become a jack-of-all-trades team. It would be a huge waste of potential. Sandaime was amused. I don't remember assigning you as their sensei. I am already their unofficial sensei. Hakure retorted. Beside, Shisui-kun makes it his life mission to get a drop on me before I croaked. He is pretty determined to get a win on me on taijutsu or kenjutsu spar. Shisui nodded enthusiastically, and don't forget it. Itachi and Naruto rolled his eyes. I believe you lost quite a number of brain cells after Hakure hit you with the hilt of his sword in last spar. Of course he and Itachi had not won against Hakure yet either in pure taijutsu and kenjutsu spar either. It's fine, I have a lot of brain cells and don't deny that. Shisui retorted. We're in front of Hokage-sama, behave. Their banter was refreshing, they acted their age. It's fine. Itachi-kun, I don't mind a little bickering. My genin team was worse. The look they exchanged with each other said they couldn't tell he was complimenting or insulting them. The Hokage sweat dropped. Well, considering who my students are, it could be taken both ways. Naruto-kun, Itachi-kun, Shisui-kun. They straightened their back in unison, their stance alert and ready. I have a proposition for you. He just hoped he won't regret this. For once he desperately hoped he would be right this time. Tokijikuen. The root agent made his way through Tokijikuen, the timeless palace. He was not walking through the dimly lighted and luxurious hallways, but upside down with his feet glued on the ceiling. Sharp eyes hidden beneath white ivory mask assessed the surroundings, the experienced gaze analyzing every detail that could help or hinder his assignment. He scanned the perimeter of the hallway that connected to his target's bedroom he was about to infiltrate. No one was in sight and he didn't sense any strong chakra nearby. Stealthily, he slipped into the ceiling right on top of the bedroom, the briefing that his master had given him still fresh in his mind. Kyuubi no Jinchuriki has made contact with Tokugawa Ieyasu, this can't be good for our village. Hokage have been too soft with the Jinchuriki and now the boy is acting on his own self-interest. No matter what transpire between the Jinchuriki and Tokugawa Ieyasu, we can't let anyone to control the Jinchuriki. Tokugawa Ieyasu is a strong and cunning man, but he is a dangerous existence to Konoha. We have let him live for too long. Kill him, and make sure nothing can connect this to Konoha. He fingered the poisoned senbon on his holster. It had been coated with deadly poison native to Kirigakure. Because the brewing civil war there plus increasing number of missing nin hailed from said hidden village, this assassination won't be traced back to Konoha or root. He nodded his head decisively to himself, and dropped from the ceiling. He walked toward the sleeping body on the bed and with a senbon in hand swiftly. Dash. Something firm and burning wrapped around his neck swiftly and pulled him backward. His feet digging on the tatami mat next to the Lord's bed. The Lord opened his eyes and rose from sleep, looking nothing like a man who just awakened from sleep by assassination attempt. He looked very alert as his sharp eyes met his almost killer, and threw his blanket off of him in dramatic fashion. It's been a while since someone tried to assassinate me, he said in nonchalant manner as if he was talking about the weather. So who is it? Kaminari no Kuni's daimyo again. He snorted, or, someone closer. The failed assassin gurgled as the whip strangling him lit up again. Arg. Izumo. Ieyasu warned his guard. I want him to live long enough to answer me. His captor, recently revealed as Izumo, beamed at his master. Ma, don't worry. He was a man in his late 20s, tall and slim young man with short blonde hair and hazel eyes. He was wearing high-collared white shirt with open zip, revealing his tattooed collarbone. A black scarf wrapped over it and around his shoulders, combined with black jacket with upturned collar and black pants. If this guy is what we suspect. His speech had accent that different than one commonly known in Hai no Kuni. He is not gonna die from this. Gurgling noise because of suffocation and pain were all the captured agent could emit. The whip loosened, but a gloved hand grabbed his jaw and forces his mouth to open. Hardened agent or not, having a fingertip with small fire tongue on your mouth was an unfamiliar situation, and he stayed rooted in his spot. Yep. There is it. Iwahuzuru no Fun. Alright, where did I put it? Tokugawa Ieyasu murmured as he idly took something out of his sleeve pocket, a wooden tag the size of his palm with a seal carved on it. The seal was shaped like octagram with characters for patience and punishment meshed to form a jar in the middle. Channeling a small amount of chakra so the seal glowed briefly, and the effect was immediate. The prisoner let out a silent scream, body tense before trembling uncontrollably. That confirms it. Izumo hummed, as he inclined his head to the side where another shinobi emerged from the shadow. Eni. Tatara. Tatsuka Tatara beamed, hi, while his warning is not necessary. In a sense they could handle root agents sent to assassinate their master. It's nice to know who we have to watch out, and it saves us time to search his body. Izumo snickered as he continued his work, and another standard procedure of theirs. 2 suicide pills on the back of their teeth, what else? He plucked the mentioned pill using tweezer and tossed it to a sample case. The helpless assassin was numb all over as Tatsuka skipped forward, and grabbed his left leg, making a small tear on the black pants. Underneath false skin on left thigh, there is another tracking seal. He made a quick work on it and the tracking seal came off. Ieyasu yawned, can't you guys do this somewhere else? He sounded bored. I need my sleep. Kusanagi Izumo snickered, Ma Ieyasu-sama, be patient. We have to do this quickly after all. His hands blurred to a series of seal. Kuchiyase no Jutsu. A barn owl appeared in a burst of chakra smoke. It has different colored eyes, one red and another blue. The owl inclined its head towards its summoner. Izumo-sama, what can I do for you tonight? Miyakuro, take that fake skin off of Tatara's hand and dispose of it somewhere. Izumo ordered. The owl took the offered skin-like sheet with its beak, somewhere between capital to our border. Tatara trailed off, eyeing the senbon he took from the root shinobi. His eyes narrowed at the clear liquid dripped from the tip, ghosting his hand over the fume and brought it close to his nostril. To water country. Izumo smirked, you heard him, Miyakuro, bring that around random forest by Nami no Kuni or in that general direction, Tatara decided. Shred it to pieces afterward. The summon bobbed his head and flew out of the room. Watching Izumo's summon flying away, Tatara sighed loudly. Well. That's one thing down, so what we're going to do with tongue-tied hostage? Ma, I am sure as member of Humro we're creative enough to get around an old seal like this. Izumo nodded to himself. Tatara beamed, I am not sure about Yadakun's creativity though, his creative idea to get info involves beating it out of them with his staff. Nah, I am not going to trust Yadakun in delicate matter, let's just make use of your fine control of Katon to cut his digits one by one with knife made of flame. He suggested. It would be hygienic because there would be less blood and less chance of infection. Ieyasu in the background rolled his eyes, how is that delicate? Or hygienic? The brunette was thoughtful at the suggestion, Mahiro's spider would be more effective. Tatara suggested. I mean, I am sure it would be faster to get a prisoner to crack down if they have giant spider on their lap gnawing their digits with poisonous fang. And then they would be too dead to answer you. Ieyasu pointed out. We can just make use of Iwahuzuru no Fun if we don't want to waste energy. I suppose. Izumo considered that option. Both of them pointedly ignore paling and shaking root agent between them. Ieyasu yawned again as he settled back to his futon. I don't care what you do, discuss the gory detail somewhere else, I need my sleep. Tatara beamed, of course you do, Ieyasu-sama. Then as silent as they could, both shinobi dragged their prize out of the bedroom. Konoha, ceiling tower. A not-so-little birdie came and informed me that just last night Danzo sent an assassin to Ieyasu. Oh joy, Naruto snorted, tossing the letter towards Shisui who caught it expertly. Shisui scoffed, damn. Humra is a crazy group. Subduing a root agent was no small feat if they could do it in swift and efficient manner. Root didn't survive with sloppy agent, they were slippery like Orochimaru. He and his team secretly theorized at some point Orochimaru was part of Root, He seemed like the type who would be at home in Danzo's secret group. Itachi took the letter Shisui passed to him and frowned. It seems Danzo is unhappy with you. The Uchiha heir inhaled softly, then exhaled a small fireball to burn the letter to crisp. Naruto whistled at the display of Katon masterful control from Itachi. Apparently Itachi had been asking tips from Totsuka Tadara. Ha 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 dash, he let out exaggerated mocking laughter. When Danzo is ever pleased with anything about me? When I was an untrained child with wasted official, I was a shame. When I was a Fuinjutsu student under Aizen, I was still a shame with flight risk, and now after I made contract with Ii I am a threat. The Shushin expert whistled. Well, to be fair, he is not pleased with Konoha, his own village in general. Shisui stepped away when he saw the vine on his left wiggled from the corner of his eyes. Seriously, Naruto's little garden was getting livelier and creepier lately. He had been in Forest of Dead to train, so that was saying something if plants in not-so-modest greenhouse could creep him out. He bit back a yelp when the vine almost grabbed his hand, and Naruto as usual was oblivious of how dangerous his beloved plants was becoming. At this point he had given up to convince Naruto that his beloved plants weren't just liveliest and happiest greens in Konoha. He is not pleased with us, especially not just you. I am almost afraid he is going to throttle Sandaime when we're officially a team. On a side note, Itachi somehow accepted the dangerous, most likely in perverted way, plants as adorable. Then again, Shisui was sure Itachi was never harassed by Naruto's plants like him. Gah! Which leaves or vine touched his ass again? Itachi snorted, pointedly ignoring Shisui's glaring at Naruto's innocent greens. Because approving us as an official team is the same as giving express permission for alliance between Uzumaki and Uchiha clan. Or Konoha elders in general just feels whatever we're doing together rub them in the wrong way. Shisui pointed out before regretting how that statement sounded like. I mean, come on. How long has it been since Madara's era again, and no offense to your clan or Senju. He turned to Naruto. Considering the number of Konoha residents in your clan, Uchiha is more like founding clan than Senju. All of us are still here while the Senjus. Naruto rolled his eyes. Yes, I know, never mind. He craned his neck at Shisui and Itachi. So, the about tablet under this Naka shrine is perhaps what we're looking for. Shisui nodded. Yep, just recently we're allowed to join official clan meeting. He blonde blinked at that, confused at how Shisui phrased it. Official, what do you mean by that? As you know, both Itachi and I were. He coughed, recommended to Umbu with Sandaime's and Danzo's approval. But it's only recently we're full-pledged member of a team, and that means we're adults in the eyes of the clan Wohu. Naruto gave him an unimpressed look. Itachi just sighed. Previously, while we're allowed to join clan's meeting, it's held in Naka Shrine. The one we recently allowed access is the one under Naka Shrine. It's a hidden room. If they were not so close and had bigger concern, Naruto would be worried for his friends spilling their clan's secret. So, the tablet bothers you somehow, Itachi? The Uchiha heir nodded. It's just a hunch, but, judging from the style of writing carved on the tablet, it's most likely even older than ones we have come across before. He had only seen it from a distance though, but Uchiha always had good vision, better than most. It's a very small tablet though. Shisui gestured with his hands, giving Naruto a rough size of the tablet. About this big. Naruto narrowed his eyes. That's quite small. By standard of tablets they had found all over elemental country so far. But if you think it's older than what we usually found, doesn't that mean your clan went through trouble to bring a tablet along with them to Konoha after the end of feuding clans era? Itachi cupped his chin, frowning. That's right, from what we found in Uchiha's old hideout, most tablet were left behind, so why only that one? So, it's not a historical record perhaps? Shisui guessed. Naruto fidgeted. I would love to see it myself. Sorry Naruto, Uchiha clan only. Shisui opened his mouth to say something but nothing came up. Why oh why I can't find the right time to break the news. Then again, was there any point telling Naruto considering the Uzumaki already knew they were related somewhere up their family tree? Itachi and Naruto noticed Shisui had been beside himself over something, and so far he kept at a loss of how to say it. They would have asked days ago, but when it comes to Shisui, it would be better to let the Shushin expert to stew over it as long as he needed. Beside, it couldn't be anything important if Shisui kept snickering about it from time to time. Speaking of which, we have to delay the dinner again this week. Itachi pointed out forlornly. Naruto shrugged, that's what happen when all of us have tight schedule, but we have the same day off after the next mission. It's a day before your birthday. Shisui returned from his La La Land. Do you think we can return before the big day? They were planning to sneak to Hokage's grave on said day for Naruto's sake. Saa Naruto shrugged. The day didn't matter really, everyone is hyped up to celebrate it in October anyway, whenever the date is. The people of Tower were happy as long as they could celebrate his birthday, even not on the exact day. It was the thought that counted. With his mental age he didn't really fixate it on exact day. It surprised me Hokage-sama suggested it though. He was against giving you anything above C rank before. Naruto rolled his eyes. Technically I have gone to a couple of B to A rank missions, and a number of C rank missions we went were not really C rank. To be fair, you're the one who accepted the invitation from Tori's daimyo to watch that monk's magic show. Shisui pointed out. And you were the one who can't keep his mouth shut, you just have to shout he is a fake priest in front of those nobles when you detected his genjutsu. Naruto retorted back. Itachi shrugged, but I believe we're the one who can't leave conflict alone and decide to go after that wandering nin group when they tried to escape. He pointed out loftily. Thankfully we managed to subdue all of them, and even though we killed their leader, they're willing to compromise and swore allegiance to Tori no Kuni. I am not sure it's because of your diplomatic skill, or we beat them up too much, or they're smitten by twin princess of Tori no Kuni. Shisui snickered, Toki is a cutie. He mused before cursing up a storm when he felt something touching his bottom again. Naruto harumphed, well, but that escort mission to Jinga no Kuni is almost a bust thanks to you. The trip by ship through that river almost became hell because he was hoodwinked by a bandit, the shame. How should I know that mushroom is dangerous and a hazard? You're lucky we use storage scroll to keep our food, but the Toyoshi-sama was unhappy with what the mushroom did to his ship. Itachi said. Shisui snarled, like you never get us in trouble, remember that one kunoichi you beat in friendly spar. You should have asked first where did she come from. To be fair, kunoichi from Nadeshiko village that time didn't wear her hitai. Naruto pointed out. And while Itachi looks older than his age, he is still 13. She is being unreasonable, and I think she is after Itachi in the first place. Itachi shuddered, please don't remind me, and why we're recalling missions that went downhill again. You mean Fubar? Shisui corrected as he tried to strangle an affectionate willow tree that tried to hug him. His teammates were blissfully unaware of the harassment. Naruto sighed loudly, right, let's drop it, we're going to be depressed over it. He hummed, still I didn't expect our next mission is not quite a mission just for us as official team. Or why Hokage-sama allows it at all. Itachi added. I know you can handle it, but I am uneasy with this change of attitude. The Jinchuriki narrowed his eyes. Well, as his surrogate grandson I will say he is worried I will get myself in danger he didn't know, so it's better he give me what I want and well protected. As one of Konoha's shinobi I say, he is keeping me under tighter control, or someone like Danzo or Iyasuji will snatch me away. Itachi and Shisui shared a look, neither liked Naruto's wild guess but they knew it made sense. At least he gave us plenty of times to prepare. Naruto took a moment to mull about their situation before cracking one eye open at Shisui. Oi Shisui, what are you doing with Yana-chan? Gee, what do you think? If there was still something very childlike about Naruto, he still named his plants, all of them had names and he remembered them by heart. You're hugging her? Naruto hazarded a guess. No, it's the other way around. He corrected waspishly. 5 days later. Another new recruit. Umbu operative who was in the middle of putting his gear wondered out loud, pulling the grey flak jacket over his head. But we just get Itachi-kun and Shisui-kun few weeks ago, so our team is already full. Umbu's squad typically consist of 2 4-man cells after all. His silver-haired senior waved his hand in negative, not exactly a new recruit. I believe you know that sealing division just opened up a chance for regular force to receive formal training in sealing arts. They also inducted combat-ready members from that division to regular force, and the result is astonishing. One of their squad members chimed in, "Oh, I went on a mission with one of their high-rank member, they're really handy and efficient to have around as teammates." "How so?" "It's protection mission for important noble. With a Fuinjutsu barrier erected 24/7 we can eliminate threats with ease without worrying our client would get killed if we take our eyes off of them for 1 second. He explained. Second in command of Rho Squad hummed, "Who, so this time?" The captain of Umbu Squad Rho, Hatake Kakashi nodded. "So this time the sealing tower is giving one of their best on loan to us. So this new guy will not join every mission with us unless we specifically needs his expertise. Tonight we're looking for the hideouts of a rogue ninja from Kusa though, how can this seal master help us? It would be a pain if we have to protect this seal master while they're making their seal." Kakashi sighed, even though his sensei and Jiraiya-sama were both powerful seal master, majority of shinobi population always looking at Hiraishin and Toad Summon as their greatest achievement and forgetting the origin of said technique, namely Fuinjutsu. He cleared his throat. "The one they loaned to us is a combat seal master. You don't have to worry protecting him more than you do your teammates. The best seal master means diverse skills, so I am sure he can find something to contribute to the team." Kakashi-senpai is right. "If you say so, Taijo. Where's the guy anyway? The Uchiha cousins aren't here yet either." Click. Speaking of the devil, Tenzo trailed off before pausing when he saw who Itachi and Shisui brought with them. The seal master they were waiting for. The newcomer had distinctive mask, a bird mask with black triangle outlined with red from the bridge of the nose to the temple, while its beak was red. He didn't wear standard Umbu flak jacket but dark gray sleeveless kimono with hood that covered his hair and shadowing upper part of masked face. The only similar gear he wore with typical Umbu was the tight turtleneck undershirt and pants, but his had long sleeves. "Yo!" Shisui raised his hand in salute. If he was not already in full Umbu gear they would see him grinning. "Say hello to our new guy, even though he is just on loan." "Shisui." Itachi chided his cousin. The newcomer didn't seem to mind, he just shrugged at something Shisui whispered to him before turning his attention to them. "Konbanwei everyone from Team Rho." His voice was deep but also distinctively young, just like their other new recruit Itachi that was only a few inches taller, so they presumed the two were the same age. "Code name Sekirei, even though I am just temporarily on loan here on behalf of Sealing Tower, I am looking forward to work with you." At that moment Yamato thought, Itachi-kun and Shisui-kun's friend perhaps. General consensus of Team Rho, what the heck, another prodigy, our recruit is getting crazily younger and younger. While their captain thought, great, another Itachi or me. At least he sounds livelier than I was. He shook his head ruefully and wondered what their Hokage was thinking. At least this boy was not going to join them in every mission, or better, the boy would back down and replaced by someone older, relationship with Sealing Tower be damned. Still, he supposed he owed this new little guy this. "Welcome to the team, Sekirei. Note, Naruto is 145 at this point and according to my research a completely normal height but taller than average for a 9 years old. He is as tall as he was when he is 12 thought. BTW Hakurei is over 190 cms. Before the team's meeting. There is no reason for not using the mask I already have." Naruto concluded as he put on his wagtail mask. Shisui snickered beneath his mask, "And while you're at it, a wardrobe change, You looks like you're Itachi's age." He added the last part thoughtfully. Itachi and Naruto turned to each other, hand rose to gauge their height difference. "You're around 2 inches shorter than me," Itachi murmured. He shrugged, "Nah, according to Hakurei male Uzumaki or rather males of Uzushio descent are taller than average." Though he suspected he was going to be average, as in tall but not gigantic like Hakurei. Itachi and Shisui recalled hulking figure of Hakurei, alright. Sandaime especially looks tiny beside him. Lucky me, there would be less likely your Umbu team to find out Sekirei is me. Naruto beamed, the joy of being taller than average. Shisui snorted, with that hood, mask, and red hair result from hench seal I don't think anyone can recognize you. Hatake haven't seen you for years and the rest never met you, I am sure. Shisui pointed out. You're being silly, you know. Naruto snarled, who did you call silly? Hokage-sama's order states I can't be found out, and frankly I don't trust Umbu's ability to keep secret when someone like me is concerned. He was the worst S-rank secret ever. Are you sure it's not your paranoia talking again? You're the master of being incognito and skulking around, don't worry. He said patronizingly. I don't want to be told that by someone whose code name is Shisui, Lion, and whose brilliant idea to give Itachi a weasel's mask. He pointed at Itachi's masked face. And you? Why don't you ask for different mask? Naruto couldn't believe he didn't question this before, but to be fair he saw Itachi in full Umbu gears only once when Aizen abducted him. Itachi honestly didn't think his mask could give his identity away. I should. Shisui glanced at his cousin and said, it's kinda pointless to hide Itachi since he is the shortest Umbu ever, and too bad you are not permanent Umbu since you are not taking his spot as our midget. Itachi and Naruto were ticked off at his comment, just you wait when we hit our growth spurt, Shishi. Damn Shisui, he was still leading by 6 inches. Likewise, Itachi and Sekirei. That's it for part 8. Thank you for watching and see you on the next video.